Lockdown, the year we've had. This time last year I was terrified. I was working in a charity shop. We were advised to wear gloves and wash our hands frequently because of the virus. The lack of knowledge about the virus was frightening. What were we dealing with? We didn't have to stay in the shop if we felt unsafe, so I decided to go home. I was too anxious to stay around. I downed tools and said my goodbyes. When I got home, I just watched a box set on the TV. In a way, you could say I was frozen with fear of the unknown. I remember it being a pretty turbulent week. On Thursday that week, the day centre sent us home. They told us life would be very different now for all of us and our families. On that Friday, we gathered for our art class. Halfway through, the head of Open Arts came in and told us that our classes would be off for the foreseeable future. Classes would go online. I was in shock. All I could focus on was getting to Mum's in Castlewellan. Once I was near family, I would feel safer. I don't remember much of the journey, but it was a relief to get out of Belfast and into the countryside. While I was at Mum's, we went shopping. I panicked. There were huge queues at each checkout. Panic buying had begun. I didn't stay long at Mum's. Plans were made for me to go to Dad's in Hollywood. I was relieved. I would settle in at Dad's. It took me a while. My anxiety played up. I wouldn't leave the house unless someone came with me. But once I got over that, I started to develop a routine. I started to write and I made connections with the groups online. I went for walks. I still had anxiety, but I was starting to cope better. But I was still a bit petrified about going into shops on my own. I spent the summer at Dad's. I remember I sat in the garden a lot and connected with the day centre online. I joined in relaxation and did Joe Wicks workouts. My dad helped me a lot with my going online. I couldn't have done all the virtual stuff without him. Sometimes over lockdown I was difficult to manage as I have certain personality traits and behavioural issues. So I'm thankful to Dad and Nola for really looking after me. Before the summer was out, I went to stay with Mum. Her partner Dell painted the inside of my house. Mum and me gutted the house. There was an awful lot of junk I had built up over the years. One thing I regret from that time was not cleaning the house before Dell arrived. He did it single-handedly before he painted. I can't forgive myself. My excuse was I felt anxious. Now I know that's a cop-out. I'm spending the remainder of this lockdown at Mum's. I still go online and do creative writing and art. I'm much more settled here. I go out for walks every day. I still get anxious occasionally, but it's okay. I'm not scared in shops so much now. Masks and hand washing make me feel safer. Of course, the virus is airborne, but somehow a covering makes you feel cushioned. The vaccine is also a godsend. I get my first injection on Tuesday, the 16th of March. I am relieved. What a year it's been. I meant to mention that Mum and Dell and me got the COVID virus in January. We were all self-isolated for 10 days. We each had different symptoms and it was awful. But we all recovered and Mum has had her vaccine. Dell is due his soon. During this year, I've learned a few things. I'm now able to type on my computer and send stuff to my tutor. I can now take photographs and send them to my art tutor. I can now go for a walk on my own, and even if I feel anxious, I can keep going. I learned a lot about myself and I learned to live in a family again. It's not always rosy. You need to be patient and tolerant and respectful of others' needs. You learn to love and appreciate your parents and their partners, no matter what they throw at you. You learn a lot from the older generation, especially not to sweat the small stuff. I think Ruth, my writing teacher, would agree with that. What you mostly learn about, above everything else, is how lucky you are to be part of a family. Some people have no one and are isolated in a flat with no going out space. This isn't the end of the story. There is more to come. I have to move back into my house in April. That's both exciting and daunting. I need to practice life skills. I've been cushioned and supported for a year. Now I need to be an adult in the real world. The real world with COVID-19, be an adult learning to make adult decisions and living with COVID.